How's it going, everyone? It's Eli with Common Sense, and I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful week. It is a brand new year, and I have a brand new fragrance brand, and actually, technically, it's an indie fashion fragrance collective that has a lot of really cool vintage-inspired clothing and fragrances, and also some hats. I can't wait to get into this one. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, don't go anywhere, and let's get started. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and for tuning in, because it's really cool that we just get to have this connection. It's kind of cool if you think about it, especially if you were recommended this. Like, what are the odds? Today we're going to be looking at a brand new fragrance brand called Worn Haggard. So like I said in the beginning, this is an indie fashion collective that does some really cool things with vintage inspiration. So they sell hats, they sell clothing, they also sell fragrances. So some of these fragrances are extremely high quality, and I was actually shocked when I tried these on my skin. So they actually sent me this really cool fragrance discovery kit, and we're actually going to be teaming up and doing a giveaway over on my Instagram. So that's going to be a cool way to show these guys some love. As you can see, we have our fragrance discovery kit, and now there's 6 fragrances in here. These are 4 milliliters, and all of these are going to be parfum extracts. So that's going to be really strong, and for a couple of these, I actually got extreme longevity with them, and one of them even lasted, I would say, a couple days, and I still smell it on the inside of my jacket. More on that later. I actually really like it. It says, "Scents that strike a chord, whether you're the headliner of your day or the encore of your night, our fragrance kit is a medley of aromas tailored to every mood and moment. Find your signature note." So with this brand, they actually combine their love of music and just old kind of retro, vintage, Americana type music, and just the spirit of that retro indie kind of vibe. And I absolutely love it. I think it aligns with my personal style. You know, you got the hat, you got the suede leather jacket, and I'm also a musician. So this brand is right up my alley, and I couldn't be happier to be doing a giveaway and reviewing these fragrances. So the first fragrance on here is actually called Heaven or Hell, and I'm super pumped. They told me I could choose any of the fragrances to review in a full bottle, and I gave them a couple. I said, surprise me, and I'm really glad they sent this one because I was secretly hoping for that one. So these fragrances are going to be inspired by some other fragrances that are already out there, but I feel like a couple of them do have a little bit of a twist. Like I said, they're going to be parfum extracts, so a lot of them are going to last longer than the original fragrances that they are inspired by. So this one is a twist on Jo Malone's Myrrh and Tonka, which is a heavenly, beautiful fragrance. It's very nice, it's warm, and it has a beautiful, just fuzzy, warm quality to it. And this definitely captures that magic. Heaven or Hell is going to have top notes of lavender, middle notes of myrrh, and base notes of tonka bean, vanilla, and almond. This one is one of my favorite twists on that original DNA of Myrrh and Tonka by Jo Malone. I think this absolutely has a beautiful kind of a bergamot and lavender up top. I know bergamot's not listed, but it gives me a slight fruitiness, a little bit of an uplifting citrus vibe, and I gotta say the myrrh and the lavender are perfect here. The myrrh gives it a very resinous kind of vibe, but also the lavender keeps it smelling very soapy. It's a little bit floral, and it just smells absolutely incredible. And for those who don't know, myrrh is actually one of the oldest ingredients in perfumery, so it dates way back to the earliest times, and even in the Bible it talks about myrrh. It was actually one of the gifts that the 3 wise men gave to Jesus upon his birth, so really dates back. But this just definitely captures that old kind of school, old world edge, and I think it smells absolutely cool with a little bit of a modern twist, especially from the tonka and the almond. So the almond is going to be a little bit creamy, a little bit nutty, and I think as this stuff dries down, it actually smells even better. It almost smells like a slightly woody, creamy lavender mixed with a beautiful glazed donut. Oh, really good stuff. And the atomizer is awesome. Look at this. Beautiful pressurized atomizer that gives a nice cloud of fragrance, and I'm trying not to inhale too much because I tried recording this yesterday and my nose completely shut down, and it was very strong and it lasted a long time and I couldn't smell the other fragrances. But I gotta say, the dry down on this is fantastic. It also has a little bit of an amber quality to it that sets it apart from the original, so it's a little bit different from the original, and I actually prefer how this one smells over the original Myrrh and Tonka. I've been wearing this one all week, and this one actually has given me compliments. I had somebody come up to me and sniff my arm because it smelled very good to them, and they were wondering, what the heck do you have on? This stuff is magic. So if you're a huge fan of some nutty vanilla with some beautiful lavender and just a little bit of a fresh quality to that, I think this is going to be your best friend. So the full size bottle is going to be $89, but they also have a buy one, get one half off deal that's going on. I think it's an indefinite thing, like they do that throughout the year. So you can actually layer fragrances. On my skin, I got about 10 to 12 hours of longevity, and then it became a little bit of a skin scent, but I could still smell it 24, even 48 hours later. Like it really stuck to my jacket and I really could smell it all day, and it smelled heavenly the whole time. Absolutely love this. As the weather warms up, it's going to perform even better. It's going to become a little bit more strong, and I think some of the lavender and especially that almond and vanilla are going to really push off the skin some more. Just a really beautiful, soapy, earthy fragrance that I think is going to get you compliments. The second fragrance we're looking at is Tombstone. I gotta love these names. These just sound so dark and just so mysterious. Let's try this one out. I'm just gonna do one spray because these are super strong. Oh man, that is cool. Tombstone is going to be a twist on Valentino's Uomo. So this one's gonna have top notes of bergamot, middle notes of hazelnut, chocolate, and coffee notes. That's totally what I was picking up. The hazelnut and the coffee, with base notes of cedar and leather. So this is a very masculine, gourmand coffee fragrance that smells absolutely amazing, especially in the air as it kind of wafts around you, and your sillage is gonna smell really nice on this. I really like that there is that fresh bergamot up top, and really what you do notice is the sort of creamy chocolate and the gourmand coffee beans and that hazelnut. So it really is a little bit of a woody, creamy nuttiness. I think that little bit of the touch of lavender does give it a little bit of a more masculine edge, but I think a very confident woman could definitely pull this off. If you love wearing black or like a black leather jacket, I think you'll like this one. And there are plenty of you out there. I know exactly who you are. I see you commenting and I know your styles. It definitely does remind me of the original Valentino Uomo, but I think it does it in a little bit of a different way. It's a little bit more woody, and I think the bergamot really does leap off of the tester, and especially on your skin too. I feel like I'm also getting a little bit of violet or an iris of some sort, maybe just like a purple floral vibe in here that's really interesting. I actually really like that one, and normally I'm not the biggest fan of overly gourmand fragrances because if it's too sweet, it gives me a headache, and this one isn't really doing that because the bergamot keeps it a little bit fresh, and I think the chocolate and the coffee beans really do smell pleasing and gourmand here without overdoing it. In the dry down, you definitely get more of a salty coffee, and I absolutely love a salty, musky coffee fragrance. I've talked about it many times, but I actually really like the leather and the coffee in the base because it smells very masculine, but it also has a little bit of that salty latte vibe, and I really dig that. So if you like a little bit of bergamot with your coffee and some leather and some beautiful musks, I think you're gonna like this one. And this one is Worn Haggard's Tombstone. This next one is Midnight Ritual, so let's give this one a spray. Oh, instantly Santal 33 by Le Labo. That is easily identifiable. You have that beautiful violet, the iris, and that creamy, smoky sandalwood. Oh, that smells good. So it's gonna have very faithful notes. It has violet and cardamom in the top with middle notes of iris, amber, vetiver, and some new nutmeg, which isn't in the original, and base notes of cedar, leather, and sandalwood. So this is definitely going to be a green, soapy fragrance. It's got that beautiful waxy iris and the violet, so it smells very wet, it smells aquatic, and it also has quite a bit of that peppery sandalwood. It's a little bit creamy. So as it starts to settle down a little bit, I think the cardamom, the nutmeg, and the sandalwood really do give it a little bit of a sweeter quality, but this still has that beautiful peppery, slightly salty amber and the vetiver as well. I think as you walk by people in the air, it's gonna smell very similar to Santal 33. People are probably gonna think that's what you have on, but I actually really like this one because it's 90 bucks. It's not gonna be as expensive. Like, I'm actually shocked. These haven't smelled cheap. They smell high quality, and I expected these to just be kind of overpriced clones. I'm so sorry. I'm just looking at other brands that I've looked at before, and this is not like that. These are very high quality, and the way that the fragrances are blended, you can definitely tell these people are knowing what they're doing, or the perfumer who's doing this. In the dry down, the leather and the cardamom are ramped up a little bit, even though the cardamom's in the top note. You definitely get more of that sweet warmth in the base, and I think the peppery kind of woods and the nutmeg really do come out, and it smells extremely high quality. I'm actually shocked at this. This is the one that I sprayed on the inside of my sweater and my jacket, and I still smelled it days later. So this stuff really does have a lasting power. I actually had to scrub it off my skin because I was about to go to bed. I'm like, I can't wear this before I go to bed because it is going to be too strong. That is a good thing if your fragrance lasts that long. This is one of the strongest performing performers out of this entire one, and that one is Midnight Ritual. This next one is called Purgatory. So this one, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be a Tuscan leather cologne. Let's try this one out. Yep, that is definitely reminiscent to Tuscan leather, although I feel like it's definitely more raspberry heavy. Yeah, that raspberry is super strong in the opening. Purgatory is going to have top notes of raspberry, saffron, cypress, and thyme, with middle notes of olibanum, jasmine, and artemisia, with base notes of leather, wood, and ambergris. I did hear that the current Tom Ford reformulations of Tuscan leather aren't going to be lasting quite as long as they once did. I don't think you're going to have to worry about that with these. So the raspberry definitely comes off a little bit more strong. It smells more fruity than the original Tuscan leather, but it also has that very mature, sexy leather in the base. So it's very dark, and it also has a little bit of that smoky wood. I think the ambergris also does give it a little bit of an aromatic touch. So the ambergris and the raspberry with a little bit of that thyme, it definitely gives it a more uplifting kind of approach to the original Tuscan leather. So it's not going to be as dense, at least in the opening, but I think as this kind of transforms, it'll take a little bit of a different body. I do like how they are kind of taking a little bit of a different refresh in the ratios and the combinations of these notes. In the base, it definitely has that strong Tuscan leather inspiration. You got the really strong ambergris, you also have the leather, and you still have a little bit of that raspberry touch at the top. I don't know why, but whenever I smell this one, I feel like this is how Byredo would do an interpretation of Tom Ford's Tuscan leather. So it's like if they had their take on the notes and on that DNA, I feel like those two crossed together, it's kind of that style of fragrance. And that one is Purgatory. Second to last is White Ghost. So this one is going to be a Paco Rabanne Invictus twist. So I can't stand the original Paco Rabanne Invictus. I just don't like the DNA for some reason. It gives me a little bit of a headache. I was a little bit dreading reviewing this one, but we're gonna go through it anyway, and we'll see if it's any different or how close it is to that original DNA. So maybe I'll like it, maybe not. White Ghost is gonna have top notes of aquatic notes, grapefruit, and mandarin orange, with middle notes of bay leaf and jasmine, and base notes of ambergris, wood, oak moss, and patchouli. So let's give this a smell. So this is definitely similar to the Invictus DNA, but I'm not getting that sickeningly synthetic hairspray vibe like I've got from some of the cheaper Zara fragrances and some of the other clones that exist out there. Maybe getting a hint of it, but not nearly as bad as some of the other ones that I've smelled. I think the grapefruit and the mandarin give off a slight apple vibe, so it's very crisp and it has a little bit of that apple kind of clean smell, almost like an orange grapefruit shampoo. I think the jasmine definitely comes off very creamy, and the ambergris definitely does smell good in this one. It's not as fake and in your face as some of the others that I've smelled. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this one just because of the DNA, but it's a little bit fresher. It's not as sickeningly sweet. Definitely has that very strong aquatic cologne, maybe some of that hedione. In the dry down, it definitely smells a little bit better. I think it evens out a little bit. It definitely has some of that sea salt kind of freshness, but I think you lose a little bit of the fruitiness, and it definitely takes a little bit of a more woody aquatic tone. I think it smells a little bit more of a creamy woods. I wouldn't wear this on myself just because of the DNA, but I think I would definitely get this for somebody who wants a fresh aquatic fragrance. So I think this one deserves a pass. That one is White Ghost. Our final fragrance is Pinkerton's War. So let's try this one out. Oh, now that is fresh. That I think might be one of the best ones out of this. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I like that one. So just smelling this alone, this is going to be like a cross between Chanel's Allure Homme Sport and their Eau Extreme. So I think this is a really cool middle ground. Oh God, that smells good. I think that's my first or my second pick if I were to pick these out. This one has top notes of mandarin orange, mint, cypress, and sage, with middle notes of pepper and base notes of tonka bean, musk, sandalwood, and cedar. I used to own the Eau Extreme, and I bought it because of Jeremy Fragrance. He was hyping that one up like crazy, and I remember everybody was recommending it, and I did not like that one. It was a super sickeningly sweet, citrusy Play-Doh accord that just did not work on my skin, and it was just a synthetic orangey mess. It was terrible. This is definitely more well refined than that one. I think the mint is super refreshing in this. It's not gonna be as dense as the original, and I think the mandarin orange comes off as a little bit more of a lemony orange, like a lemony citrus. I'm also glad that the pepper isn't as strong in this one because I think that was another reason that I didn't quite like the other one. That is instantly one of the best openings I've smelled in a long time. So yeah, like I said, it's a cross between the Homme Sport and the Eau Extreme. So if you like both of those fragrances, this is gonna be a beautiful hybrid between those. Let's check out this dry down. In the dry down, you're getting a ton of ambergris, that ambroxan, that kind of salty amber accord that's very aquatic, mineralic, and it has a little bit of that marine-like quality to it. And I think it has a little bit of the sweetness from the tonka, but it's definitely more woody. It's a salty wood, so it almost smells like a driftwood, and you have just hints of those, little bit of the aromatic kind of sage and the citruses that were in the opening. Scratch that. I said Heaven or Hell was my favorite. This is my new favorite. Like, no joke, I'm probably gonna go out and buy one of these bottles. This is gonna be a summer beast. I imagine I would get well over that 12 hours mark because it still smells very strong even on this tester strip. I sprayed this about a day ago, so it's been sitting for a while, but man, that still smells so good. I'm gonna try this one on my skin and report back, and I'll probably do a little YouTube short or something on it, but this is gonna be in my rotation for sure. So if you want a beautiful hybrid between the Allure Homme Sport or the Eau Extreme, I think this is gonna be one of the best fragrances for the spring and the summer, and that one is Pinkerton's War. So if I were to rate these based on smell and quality, I'm gonna say Pinkerton's War is 100% my #1 choice. That one is followed closely by Heaven or Hell. I love that take on the myrrh and tonka. I think it's a little bit cleaner, it's a little bit more bergamot heavy, and I think this is just a little bit more of my style. And #3, I think the Midnight Ritual, that Santal 33 twist, I think that is gonna be a heavy hitter. It is one of the longest lasting ones out of this entire collection. So that does it. That was my first impressions on this new indie fragrance brand. Technically, yes, it is a fashion brand because they do the hats, the clothing, but I really gravitate towards the fragrances, and something about these three really do resonate with me, and I'm gonna be taking these with me. So if you're interested in any of these fragrances or checking out the Discovery set, I have it in the description where you can purchase it, and it's only $35 to try all of these. If you're like me, you'll probably end up picking up one or two, and remember, the buy one get one half off deal, so it's pretty compelling. 2 Parfum extraits for the price of a designer fragrance. I think that's a no-brainer. So that does it. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Eli with Common Sense, and until the next time, bye-bye. Get away. It smells too good. You're gonna cloud my nose. It's gonna make it hard to smell everything else.